In this video, I'll be talking about decorators in Python. So I'll start with an example. So let's imagine we have three functions which are doing something time consuming, and we want to measure how long each function takes to complete its job. So let's define the first function. I'll call it func1, and this is a really simple one. It just counts down from a really large number to 0. So I'll say I'll just store a large number in the variable n. I'll store for example 10 million, and then we just want to count down to 0, and it's going to consume some time. So we can use a while loop here. So you can say while n is greater than 0, we just subtract 1 from it. And then we can call this function like that. And so let's see it in action first. So we call this, we run the script, and it takes some time. It's not obvious at the moment, but just hold on. So, so to measure how long this takes, I'm going to import time module, and then we can use, so we can just store the time before it starts counting using time.time, and then we can duplicate this statement, and after it's done counting we can call that end, and then we can just print. I'll use an f string here, so you can say it took this many seconds, and we can just write end minus start. So now if we run this script again, it says it took 0.4 seconds for it to count on from 10 million to 0. Now if we increase it to 100 million, obviously it's going to take a little bit longer. So this time it took 4.5 seconds. So let's switch it back to 10 million. And let's say now we have another function that is doing something else. For example, it's making a web request, or it's fetching something from the database. Literally, it could be anything. So I'll just define a really simple function that makes a web request. So we can simply say request.get, and we can just make a request to http bin. So http bin.org/get, I believe. Now let's run the function 2. I'm just going to comment function 1 for now. So yeah, it does take a little while. Now if we want to measure how long this function takes, we're going to have to copy everything from here and paste it down here to measure how long this function is taking, right? So if we run this again, so this one takes 1 second and this one takes 1.2 seconds. Let's define another function here. So I'll call it func3, and so let me just copy some of the stuff from here, and then we can replace this with something like time.sleep, and it sleeps for 2 seconds, and we can call func3 here. Now if we run this script again, so first one takes 2.6 seconds, second one takes 1.22 seconds, and the third one, as expected, takes almost 2 seconds. So now the problem is that we have a lot of repeated code and we want a better way to measure how long a function takes to run. This is where decorators can be really, really handy. So what I'm going to do is I am going to temporarily stash these commands here, and then I'm going to get rid of these from here. So our functions are really, really simple. No information about printing whatsoever. Now, we can define decorators as functions. So a decorator is just a function that takes another function as its parameter, and then it does something with it. Oh, I think I removed the wrong statement here. Let me just bring it back. So this was supposed to be our HTTP request. There we go. Okay, so now let's define the decorator. So I'm gonna call it time it, and then it's gonna receive a function. And this syntax might be a little weird to start with, so just hold on and I'll explain what's going on here. So there's an inner function in our decorator, which is called wrapper, and this wrapper calls our function, and then we return our wrapper here. So this is now a decorator, and now I'm going to bring these statements into our decorator here. So I'm going to paste it here before the function is called, and these ones after the function is called. So let me just fix the indentation here. Great. Okay, so now how do we use this decorator? So all we have to do is just decorate this function with our newly created decorator. So we can just copy it. Sorry, we can just copy it like this, and we're done. So if we run this again, so first one takes 0.4 seconds, second one takes 1.2 seconds, and third one is really a little more than 2 seconds. So now our functions are really, really simple. They're exactly what they're supposed to be. There's no information about printing or time or whatever. So now what's happening here is a decorator is receiving this function here, and then we have our wrapper. So this wrapper actually calls this function, and then we have some stuff that happens before the function is called, and then some stuff that happens after the function is called. So this is only one application where decorators might be useful. There are a lot more applications of decorators. So this was a really sort of simple example of a use case where decorators might be used. So in the next video, I will show you how you can pass arguments and also how to return values from these functions, because this was a really simple example in which we're not passing anything to our functions and also we're not returning anything. Now, obviously, if you have to pass some arguments or you have to get the return value back, there is a little more going on, so I'll explain that in the next video.